Good morning. First of all, I would like to thank Malay sir for this opportunity. So, my job is to talk on US guided biliary drainage. So, as we all know, for malignant biliary obstruction, the options of biliary drainage are ERCP, PTBD, and US guided biliary drainage. So, we'll talk on US guided biliary drainage. So, US guided biliary drainage has emerged as a technique for gaining biliary access when ERCP fails. And we know ERCP fails in around 5 to 10% of cases due to inaccessible papilla or inability to cannulate the papilla. And the reasons for ERCP failure include altered anatomy, ampullary distortion, periampullary diverticulum, gastric outlet obstruction, or duodenal stents in situ. So conventionally, percutaneous transhepatic biliary drainage or PTBD has been performed when ERCP fails, but PTBD is associated with high adverse event to the tune of 33%, and it includes bleeding, bile leak, dislocation of the external catheter, recurrent infection, and acute cholangitis. Catheter-related morbidity from the external drainage are well known and may also worsen the patient's quality of life. Now, US biliary drainage has several advantages. First of all, it is minimally invasive and can be performed directly after a failed ERCP in the same session by the same proceduralist. Second, drainage of both the intrahepatic and extrahepatic bile ducts may be achieved. It's minimally invasive with minimal or no procedural pain. And fourth, as opposed to PTBD, there is no external drain that can dislocate or that can limit patients' daily activities. Now, these are the indications of US guided biliary drainage. So, if the papilla is accessible, then the causes can be in the ampulla, like any ampullary pathology, or periampullary diverticulum, or ampullary neoplastic infiltration. For non-accessible papilla, the causes can be peptic GI stenosis, malignant GI strictures, gastrointestinal bariatric bypass, or altered anatomy like Roux-en-Y gastric bypass or Bilrock-2 gastroenterostomy. Now, US guided biliary drainage can be extrahepatic or intrahepatic. Extrahepatic means choledochoduodenostomy with a transluminal stent or a rendezvous procedure. And intrahepatic means the left lobe of the liver is accessed from the stomach and a transpapillary stent is placed through the antegrade or US rendezvous technique, or a transluminal stent is placed through hepaticogastrostomy. Now, this is the schematic diagram. So it can be intrahepatic biliary drainage or extrahepatic biliary drainage. For intrahepatic biliary drainage, as you can see in this figure, the puncture site is from the stomach. The scope stability is stable. The needle maneuverability is easy. Diameter of the bile duct but is small. Needle direction should be towards the ampulla, and the distance to papilla is usually long. And for extrahepatic biliary drainage, it is from the duodenum from D1. Either the scope can have a long route or a short route. For long route, the scope is in the long route, the puncture site is usually D1. Here the needle is stable, needle maneuverability, but becomes difficult due to the curve in the scope. And the diameter of the bile duct is usually large, and the needle direction should be towards the hepatic hilum, and distance to the papilla is short. And the third is the short position of the scope from D1. This is usually in rendezvous procedure, where again the scope here is unstable position, needle maneuverability is normal, and duct diameter is large, and needle direction should be towards the ampulla. Now, this is choledochoduodenostomy. I will skip this. I won't discuss choledochoduodenostomy because there is a talk on choledochoduodenostomy by Dr. Avinash, which is later in the day. So I will skip this. So now I will start from hepaticogastrostomy. Now, hepaticogastrostomy is a procedure, as I have already described, where we access the bile duct from the stomach. The left side of the liver is punctured, the bile ducts are punctured. It can be either in the segment 2 or the segment 3. And the indications are usually if there is a hilar stricture like CA, gallbladder, or cholangiocarcinoma, or if there is a distal biliary stricture, and if the duodenum is inaccessible. So those are the indications for hepaticogastrostomy. Now, some schematic diagrams to explain how it is done. So first of all, from the GE junction, when you image with the linear scope, so the liver, usually the segment 2 and segment 3, we can easily distinguish, which is divided by the left hepatic vein. And now once, for all practical purposes, we always try to puncture the duct in the segment 3. and usually avoid puncturing in segment 2, but it's always not possible. Sometimes we puncture segment 2 also, but what we should be clear is, what we should try is, we should never puncture the liver from the esophagus, because then the chances of mediastinitis and all this increases. So always the puncture site should be from the stomach, and preferably a segment 3 duct. So as you can see, so the first is the dilated duct. This has been punctured by a needle, and this is the cholangiogram which has been obtained. So once you obtain the cholangiogram, where is inserted deep into the bile duct. If possible, you can put the wire across the bile duct into the duodenum also. And then once the wire is passed, a cholangiogram is obtained, then we dilate the tract, usually with a 4 mm balloon, hurricane balloon. And the puncture, I forgot to mention, the puncture is usually with a 19 gauge needle. And after the puncture, the tract is created by a 6 French cystotome. And once we get the tract, we get the access, the tract is dilated with a 4 mm hurricane balloon. So after the tract is dilated, we can deploy the stent. It's a geobore stent, or any covered stent. Tubular stent can also be inserted. Usually nowadays the stents at geobore 30-70 is available, where 30%, the uncovered part of the stent should be inside the liver, and the covered part should breach from the liver to the stomach. So this is a video, this is a video of hepaticogastrostomy. This is one of my cases where the patient had a distal obstruction, and also the patient had a duodenal stricture. So you can see the bile ducts. This is a segment 3 duct. It's a hugely dilated duct, as you can see in the segment 3 of the liver. So once you get this type of duct, it becomes easy. It's not a difficult task because the ducts are very dilated here. So you can see my needle is coming through this position, and we'll try to puncture this duct. So once you gain access to the duct, so here I have gained access to the duct, then you do a cholangiogram. So see the cholangiogram, the ducts are hugely dilated. So once you obtain a cholangiogram, you try to maneuver the guide wire. This is the guide wire which comes. Then the puncture is usually with a 6 French cystotome. So once you stabilize the guide wire inside the liver, make a few turns inside the liver so that the guide wire is stable. So then we dilate the tract with a 4 mm hurricane balloon, as I mentioned earlier. Then we can deploy the stent. This is the stent being deployed. And one trick of this procedure is we should always try to visualize it under US guidance. So we should complete the procedure entirely under the US guidance. Because once if the US view is lost, then there is high likelihood that the stent placement will be very difficult, and the stent might get dislodged, or you might get lost in the stomach. So here you can see the stent has already been deployed. You can see the final position of the stent. So you can see good drainage of bile through the stent. So this is all about hepaticogastrostomy. Now the next procedure is US rendezvous procedure. So in US rendezvous procedure, if the papilla is normal, if there is no duodenal stricture, sometimes we can do this procedure where you can puncture the bile duct from D1. And here the direction of the scope should be towards the ampulla. So our idea is to puncture the bile duct and to take the guide wire out of the ampulla in D2. So once you can see the guide wire inside coming out from the ampulla, either you can cannulate alongside the guide wire and complete a regular ERCP, or you can take this guide wire out from the mouth of the patient, and you can put it again through the scope and do a routine ERCP. So now this is an important slide where I discuss the US biliary drainage choice of stent. Now for a rendezvous procedure, plastic stent can be used, or an uncovered metal stent can be used, or a covered metal stent can be used. Lamps and tubular are not recommended. For transluminal choledochoduodenostomy, usually covered metal stents are used. If the bile duct is less than 15 millimeter, then it's always a covered metal stent. When if the bile duct is more than 15 millimeter, then lamps can also be used. For all transluminal hepaticogastrostomies, plastic stents have been used, but there is always the risk of bile leak when you use a plastic stent. but the tubular stents and geobore stents are used. And for antegrade, always uncovered metal stents are used. Now, these are the algorithms for guidance for endoscopic ultrasound guided biliary drainage. So these are two early studies, prospective studies done by Park et al. And Tyberg et al., where they have shown that a number of patients were around 50, where they showed that the high technical success rate of around 91% with these procedures, with a complication rate of around 10 to 11%. And these are also a few studies where the techniques are compared, like this Mohin Kashyap et al. Had compared US guided hepaticogastroctomy versus US guided choledochoduodenostomy in around 121 patients. And he reported a technical success rate almost equal between both the procedures with the equal rate of complications. And a little bit more complications were there in the patients who had hepaticogastroctomy in comparison to choledochoduodenostomy. And so also there are a lot of studies which has compared PTBD versus US guided biliary drainage, and Bapaya et al. Had compared around 50 patients, compared PTBD versus USBD. So the technical success rate was more in PTBD, of course, and technical success rate in USBD was still above 90%, but the complication rate, as you can see here, was more in the group which had undergone PTBD in comparison to US guided biliary drainage. So these are the advantages and disadvantages. ERCP, like we all know, it's widely available, and we have a lot of experience with ERCP, but it's not feasible in cases of inaccessible papilla. For PTBD, it's a available rescue therapy for ERCP failure, but high complication rate, and external catheter is contraindicated if there is ascites. For US guided, different various procedures are there, like we can do a hepaticogastroctomy for choledochoduodenostomy, gallbladder drainage, and rendezvous procedure, internal drainage, same session of failed ERCP and fewer re-interventions. But the disadvantage of US is this expertise is not widely available, but now a lot of centers, almost all centers, a lot of gastroenterologists, they do this US guided biliary drainage. But the algorithm has not yet been standardized. Now, there are a few studies which compare this intrahepatic versus extrahepatic approach. Michael Kalla et al. Had a large retrospective study, including 245 patients, revealed a similar success rate for the intrahepatic and extrahepatic approach. And Vinay Dhir et al. Had assessed the intrahepatic and extrahepatic approach for US rendezvous for distal common bile duct obstruction, and they confirmed that the success rates were equal. And a multi-center study looking at the efficacy and safety of both of US biliary drainage concluded that extrahepatic approach was significantly associated with decreased procedure time, length of hospital stay, and risk of moderate adverse events. That means choledochoduodenostomy is better than hepaticogastroctomy in terms of complications and ease of doing the procedure according to this study. So hepaticogastroctomy versus choledochoduodenostomy, a retrospective study of 39 patients with obstructive jaundice caused by lower biliary obstruction and duodenal obstruction due to malignant tumor showed that US-guided hepaticogastroctomy was associated with longer stent patency than US-guided choledochoduodenostomy. But choledochoduodenostomy had a greater risk factor of reflux cholangitis, and a recent systemic review showed no significant difference between transduodenal and transgastric approaches, and both the approaches are equal. This is a recent study in 2016. Now, there are comparison between US biliary drainage versus PTBD, and this was a study by Artifon et al. Which compared the efficacy and safety of CD choledochoduodenostomy versus PTBD in a small prospective randomized study including 25 patients, and he concluded that both the procedures were equal. But the other studies, like one by Giovanni et al., who had a prospective multi-center study comparing USBD with PTBD and randomized 41 patients, and in this study they had shown that a very high complication rate in PTBD when compared to US biliary drainage. The PTBD group had 60% of complications, whereas the USBD had around 35% of complication rates. So this is again the same table which I had already discussed, which compared US biliary drainage versus PTBD. And most of the study has shown that though the technical and clinical success rate were same in both the procedures, but the complication rates were more in PTBD than comparison to US biliary drainage. So US biliary drainage versus PTBD, there is a meta-analysis and systemic review of 3 RCTs and 6 retrospective studies which showed that the technical success rates is equivalent between both. Clinical success is better with biliary drainage, adverse events is less with biliary drainage, re-intervention rates are lower with biliary drainage, US-guided biliary drainage, duration of hospital stay is no significant difference, and the cost is less in US biliary drainage when you compare with PTBD. Now, this is interesting, US guided biliary drainage versus ERCP. So a small prospective clinical study including 18 patients showed that US biliary drainage is safe and effective as a first-line biliary drainage therapy with success rates of 94% and complication rate of 11%. It's known that the cannulation of difficult papilla is associated with increased adverse events, and difficult biliary access leads to increased manipulation, additional procedure time, and multiple attempts, making the patients prone to pancreatitis and other adverse events. And pancreatic rates are less than 3% for patients when cannulation is achieved with 5 minutes, but may exceed 10% when cannulation time exceeds 10 minutes. So if the cannulation is getting difficult, so we can attempt US guided biliary drainage in comparison instead of keeping on trying to do ERCP. And that in these studies, they have shown that the complication rates are less when US biliary drainage is done. And US biliary drainage can be used as an alternative to pre-cut sphincterotomy. A recent retrospective study showed that the ERCP failure rate decreases when US biliary drainage is available. And the success for US biliary drainage was significantly higher than for pre-cut, which supports the role of US biliary drainage as an alternative to pre-cut after failed cannulation. Now, these are the two studies by Dhir et al. And Lee et al. Which had shown that they compared USBD and pre-cut, and they showed that the technical success was better with USBD in comparison to pre-cut, and the complication rates were almost here in these studies. One study had mentioned and no significant difference, but the technical success rate was better when with US biliary drainage rather than doing pre-cut sphincterotomy. So there is another systemic review of a large number of patients, almost 1,500 patients with 1,500 procedures. And here, if you see the forest plot of a technical success in all the studies that have been reported with US biliary drainage shows that the technical success rate is of 91.5%. Technical success rate means you are able to complete the procedure. And the clinical success rate is about 87% with US guided biliary drainage. And the technical clinical success rate means actually the bilirubin comes down after doing the procedure. So this is clinical success. And the re-intervention rate is around 6.5% of US guided biliary drainage. And all adverse events is up to 18% for US guided biliary drainage as mentioned in the various studies. So, but here we need to know one thing, that most of the studies which were reported earlier, like 2010, 11, 12, 13, so they had a higher complication rates, and the recent studies, 17, 18, and 19, whatever the studies are there, they showed lower complication rates, but the average is almost around 18% complications. And if we make a subgroup analysis of all three major individual adverse events, like bile leak was 4.1%, stain migration 4%, and infection rate of around 3.8%. So should we do US guided biliary drainage in benign biliary strictures? In a multicenter and non-randomized study of 240 patients, including 194 patients with a malignant disease and 44 with benign disease, a higher success rate was noted in malignant disease compared with benign disease. The reason being, in malignant disease, the bile duct is more dilated and the structures are relatively fixed when compared with a benign disease. And another explanation might be the type of stent that has been used more for practically for malignant disease. Always used metal stent, whereas plastic stents are used for benign diseases. So in benign diseases, still it can be done, but the technical success rate is better with malignant diseases. So if you come to the adverse events, as I said, that's around 18%: bile leak, bleeding, cholangitis, sepsis, peritonitis, and stent migration. And the lower complication rates in recent studies may be partially explained by the increasing use of lumen opposing metal stents that are especially designed for this indication and may decrease the incidence of bile leakage. Kashyap et al. Performed an international multicenter studies on hepatic cholecystomy compared with choledochoduodenostomy and demonstrated the adverse events are significantly more common in patients who underwent plastic stenting than metal stenting. And Gupta et al. Showed that the use of plastic stents was associated with higher rates of cholangitis, and a recent meta-analysis confirmed that the adverse events were lower in metal stents. So again, some studies have shown that the complication rates are more in centers who have done less than 20 USBD procedures. And O et al. Investigated the learning curve for US hepatic cholecystomy in a prospective study involving 129 patients, and they concluded that the procedure time and the adverse events were shorter after 24 cases and stabilized at 33 cases of US-guided hepatic cholecystomy. So a multi-institutional survey among experts revealed US biliary drainage could replace PTBD after ERCP failure. Rendezvous stenting technique should be the first choice. Most endoscopists recommended the use of SEMS for US biliary drainage. 8 to 10 centimeter SEMS were recommended for hepatic cholecystomy, while 6 centimeter SEMS for US choledochoduodenostomy and 6 Prince cystotomes for fistula creation. So this is the algorithm for US guided biliary drainage. So we usually puncture with a 19 gauge needle or a 22 gauge needle of the biliary tree. It can be either the left hepatic duct, the CBD, or the GB, or the gallbladder. Bile aspiration and contrast injection, guide manipulation, 0.035 inch for 19 gauge needle and 0.025 for 22 gauge needle. And if you can manipulate the guide wire into the gallbladder, you put a stent in the GB. If in the left hepatic duct, you put a stent via hepatocystomy. If into the CBD, you place a stent in the CBD by US choledochoduodenostomy, and across the stricture into the duodenum, if you can, either you can do an antegrade stenting by US guided, or you can do a US rendezvous and complete the procedure by a ERCP. So this is the algorithm. So any patient which comes with malignant biliary obstruction, it can be expected difficult cannulation or expected easy normal cannulation. If it is an easy normal cannulation, we do ERCP, success, good. If it's a failed ERCP, then we can go for US biliary drainage. For US biliary drainage, again, we should note whether the ducts are dilated intrahepatic ducts or non-dilated intrahepatic ducts. If there's non-dilated intrahepatic ducts, we always go for extrahepatic approach. If there's dilated intrahepatic ducts, then you can do an intrahepatic approach. Fail or not successful, then you can go for extrahepatic approach. If it is success, then that's good. So to conclude, US biliary drainage is an emerging technique with demonstrated safety and efficacy. It is increasingly used as a better alternative for PTBD after failed ERCP. There are no RCTs to support the best strategy for USBD, and I believe the best approach should be decided on a case-to-case basis according to the patient's anatomy and condition. In the near future, there might be an important role for US biliary drainage as a primary biliary draining technique. Thank you.